I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is why I talk about sex and money. The fact that I devote so many episodes to these two topics might be curious to some of you. After all, isn't this PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology? And aren't I a psychologist? Shouldn't I be talking about like mindfulness and depression or something? Why do I talk so much about sex and money? Aren't these superficial things? What do they really have to do with psychology and self-fulfillment? Fair question. And I will attempt to answer it in today's episode. But before I get into it, please remember to like this episode and subscribe to this channel. It takes less than a second, costs you nothing, and it's a great way to help spread this message. So if you like what you're hearing, then please do the thing. Also, if you're thinking about going to grad school, then you need to check out stellargre.com. You can use the coupon code PSYCH for 10% off all membership plans. All right, so there are two answers to this question, so be sure to watch to the very end because they are radically different from each other, but both kind of important. So in the first place, I talk about sex and money because a lot of the problems that humans are subject to experiencing, anxieties, depressions, neuroses of all kinds, can actually be solved when people start to get what they want. For instance, a man who feels like he cannot have the kind of relationship he would like with a woman is going to have a hard time feeling confident or maintaining a certain level of self-esteem or achieving a certain degree of satisfaction in his life. He's also likely going to be feeling lonely, angry, and hopeless. By the same token, a woman who's always worried about money is going to be subject to all kinds of anxieties and uncertainties about the future. She's going to be counting every dollar, which is kind of a mean and undignified way to live, to be honest. And she's also likely going to feel envious, depressed, and resentful. If you do not have enough love, sex, or money in your life, it's really hard to thrive. So, helping people get access to sex and money serves to resolve a lot of so-called mental illnesses. A lot of mental illness is actually due to being low in a status hierarchy. This has been well documented in primate societies, which tend to have very rigid hierarchical structures. The lower down a primate is in the social hierarchy, the more he tends to exhibit signs emblematic of depression, neuroses, and behavioral abnormalities. And when that same primate is elevated in the social hierarchy for whatever reason, a lot of these signs and symptoms tend to disappear. They're not really due to neurotransmitters or genetics. They're due to the awareness on some level that they're at the bottom of the ladder. So if folks can find a way to elevate themselves within their social hierarchies, then this by itself will do much to treat a lot of clinical syndromes. So that's one reason. Now, the second reason is a bit more high level, and here it is. I talk a lot about sex and money because I want to help people understand that at the highest levels of existence, these things are really not that important. Money does not actually solve all your problems. Having access to all the sex in the world will not make you happy. The issue is that until you actually have a lot of money, and until you actually have a lot of access to sex and relationships, you're going to think I'm full of shit. And for good reason. It would sort of be like listening to a billionaire say, money isn't everything. It's pretty easy to roll your eyes at such a statement. Like, yeah, easy for you to say, buddy. Until you actually have a lot of money and a lot of access to sex and relationships, the vast majority of people are going to continue to believe that these things have the capacity to fulfill them on a deep level. And the fact of the matter is, the billionaire is right. Money isn't everything. The player is right. Sleeping with thousands of women isn't fulfilling. But you kind of need to have a lot of money and a lot of sex to get to that point. Otherwise, you're just going to think it's bullshit. So by helping people get better access to sex and relationships, by helping people earn more money and achieve at a higher level, I'm actually working to facilitate their disappointment with these things. And the only way to really do that is to help people get them so that they can realize for themselves that they're not all they're cracked up to be. Until that happens, they will continue to hope vainly that they are capable of providing more than they can. And ideally, you want to accelerate this disappointment process as quickly as possible. Those who chase money their entire lives, only to realize at 70 how much they missed out on, are actually tragic figures. Their disappointment came too late. So to avoid this, let's get really good, really fast at getting access to sex and relationships. Let's get really good, really fast at making money and achieving highly. That way, we can see things for what they really are, no more, no less. Don't get me wrong, I am pro money and I love sex. I have a very healthy drive for these things. But I also don't allow myself to pretend that they can offer me more than they can. And this understanding allows me to look for the truly important things in life in more appropriate places. What do you think? How has disappointment helped you on your path? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for listening.